Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Amateur Radio General Class, session number 1. Essentially, today is an orientation session, so therefore, we will not be getting into much of the material, but we will give an idea of the scope of the course and what is involved. So this is our agenda this evening. We will look at the logistics of the course. We'll talk a little bit about the course itself, the facilitator, about the organization called React, and we will also introduce an app called Zello to interact with React. We talk a bit about what amateur radio is about for those who may not be fully aware but would have still signed up for the course anyway. We'll get into the various classes of licenses that's available to become a licensed amateur radio operator. We talk a bit about the learning objectives, the sessions themselves that we'll be having, talk about the materials that we'll be distributing for the course and optional material. We'll then get into the amateur radio exams, talk a bit about the licensing. We have a couple of frequently asked questions. Then we will show a couple of amateur radio or ham radio equipment, what it might look like. And then we'll do a quick dip into the question pool that we'll be dealing with over the several weeks. And then we'll discuss the next steps. Okay, so very much a warm welcome to everyone. Special welcome to the youth participants. We have many young persons in the class, very heartwarming to see indeed, and persons from all around the world, wherever you are. We are glad to have you. So Sydney, thank you for your interest in the course. We emphasize there's no cost for the tuition part of the course when it comes to the exams and the licensing to maintain your amateur radio license. Well, there are costs which we'll detail a little bit later. But this course itself is no cost. So we'll be having all the sessions via Zoom as virtual sessions. And we ask the participants download the latest version of Zoom so that you have the most up-to-date versions and the features so that it should work as smoothly as possible. And any overflow on Zoom, because we have a pretty large class, will be taken care of via YouTube. So we try to stream to YouTube simultaneously. And some people do prefer to take it on YouTube as well. So just a note, if we have an overflow, but as it is right now, we have the capacity in Zoom. And we'll be doing a presentation or webinar style, and all of the slides involved will be shared to participants via email. We may have some interruptions during the presentation. Actually, in a couple seconds, I need to take a one minute break after this slide, and I'll be back. We do apologize for any challenges that we may encounter. Please excuse any background noise that you may hear. These sessions are in fact being recorded for future playback, of course, subject to no challenges with the recording feature itself. In terms of prerequisites for the course, so some basic maths, nothing super fancy, but some basic calculations. And as we are at the general class level, which we'll talk a bit about the various classes in a bit, this is the second level. There's the previous class called the technician class license. So essentially that would have been a prerequisite, but for persons who would have joined the class without going through the technician material, don't worry about it. Today is just an orientation anyway. So you have all of this week here to begin looking at the technician class material, which we would have already sent to participants a link to. And we will be putting it up on the slides as well and encouraging persons to consider start to look at the technician material. So that will certainly help grasp the concepts as we go through the general. So if you haven't done the technician, no need to stop looking or going through the general class. You don't have to. I recommend you stay with it, just be part of it. But your focus should be on the technician class course, right? We have any questions that persons may want to ask. You can use the chat feature, or you can submit those via email. And I'm seeing Adish there. Good evening, Adish. Welcome. Great to have you, right? So that's the chat feature. And email as well. So that information and contact will be provided a little bit earlier, but everyone should already have that as well. Each session will commence with a Q&A where prior questions that we would not have addressed or answered will be dealt with at the start of the sessions. Now, just remember, as the instructor, I'm just a guide. You as the participants will have to do the work. But we are also hoping that you will have lots of fun as you go through the course. So I did say I need to take a 1-minute break, so excuse me a moment, please. Okay, sorry about the pause. I'm back with you. So let's continue. All right, so about the course itself. So this course is about preparing participants to become ham radio operators or amateur radio operators, which requires a license, or persons who already have a technician class and wish to upgrade to the general class, right? So the exams themselves and the licensing are completely separate from the course. So we're just doing tuition so that you can get up to speed with the material so you can sit and pass the exams and then apply for your license. So we have to emphasize, again, when we advertise this course, we have persons who would have signed up not being fully aware of the, what amateur radio or ham radio is about. So persons, if you have an expectation that coming out of this, we will be teaching about DJing or becoming a broadcaster or some sort of person in the media, that's not quite what we're about, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to live the course if those are not your objectives. What we'll be talking about should be of interest to you still, but just bear in mind, this is not a newscaster or a weather anchor course or any of those things, right? It's amateur radio or ham radio, and we'll get a bit into what that is. So we hope, even though that may not have been your main interest, please consider looking at the course and seeing if it would be of interest to you. All right, so the knowledge that we will share during the course could be certainly valuable to persons outside of amateur radio as well. So if you're involved in any sort of radio operation, two-way radio operation, workplace, for example, this course can be beneficial to you as well, because we also, apart from getting into amateur radio electronics, we get into radio operating practices as well, and that could be beneficial. So you're attending a course, and we are offering optional to students in the course. If you attend at least 75% of the sessions, we will be making a certificate of participation available to you. Of course, it'll be electronic, so just bear that in mind. And so persons ask, well, why do you have to do an exam to become a ham radio operator or an amateur radio operator? Well, it's really to ensure that you do not shoot yourself or others in the foot, right? It's about being responsible, ensuring that you act safely, because we're dealing with transmitting equipment that can be, cause harm if incorrectly or improperly used, either deliberately or inadvertently, right? So we also want to ensure that we are aware how to operate the equipment. So proper operating practices would be another reason we have to demonstrate that we have those capabilities in an exam. And of course, once you have done the course and you sit the exam, you become a licensed radio operator, you apply, you get your call sign. The learning has just begun. It's similar to a driver's permit or driver's license. You've just really learned to drive. Now you have to engage on the road as a driver. Well, same thing with amateur radio. Once you've gotten that license, that's where the practice becomes. Again, ideally, that will be done under the guidance of an experienced ham, or what we will call an elmer. So it's good if you have someone that you can be mentored by, and vice versa as well, right? No one knows everything. So even the mentee can share a thought or teach something to the mentor, right? So it's really a two-way street as well. So that's just the nature of amateur radio. It's very vast and very wide, and we can each teach each other something. All right. So just a little bit about the instructor. So I know several of you in the course, but I don't know all of you. And my name is Ravindranath Goswami. Most people know me or call me Robbie, and please feel free to call me Robbie. That's fine. Again, my little photo is on the right there. All right, so I'm located in Trinidad and Tobago. My email address, and you would want to note this because this is the email address that you can use should you wish to send an email with a question. For example, you can send to this email address. It's robbie@9y4r.com. And also my phone number. You can send a WhatsApp to this number. You can call, but I must say quite often, especially during the work day, and sometimes later on, I am quite occupied. So may not be able to necessarily take calls directly all the time. You can try me, but a WhatsApp will be a lot better. I usually get to them. Sometimes they run off the screen and I have to chase them down, but please, if I don't respond in a couple of days time, please just ping me again and bring it up to the top, right? So sometimes there's an overload on WhatsApp. However, that's another way that you can ask questions as well. All right. So just to let you know, there are a couple of organizations that I belong to that you may wish to also join. If at the point, you become a licensed ham, you can join organizations. We have, React as an organization doesn't require you to be an amateur radio operator to join, for instance. And we'll be talking, I have a couple of slides about React for those who are interested. And there are amateur radio clubs in Trinidad and Tobago, like TITA's, Trinidad and Tobago Amateur Radio Society. There's the American Radio Relay League out of the United States. In Britain, there's the Radio Society of Great Britain, the Amateur Satellite Corporation, WARA out of Dominica, and OARC, that's out of Orlando in the US. So those are some of the clubs that I happen to belong to, and you may wish to join some of those as you become licensed. Call signs, that's what you get when you become a licensed amateur radio operator. And I have two call signs listed here. One is 9Y4R, and we usually use the phonetic alphabet, and you'll get a bit more into that into the course. In the technician class, we simply did deal with the phonetic alphabet. We use phonetics when we have letters. So 9Y4R becomes 9 Yankee for Romeo, right? So that's my call sign in Trinidad and Tobago. And in the US, my call sign is Whiskey Bravo 1 Romeo, WB1R. All right, and I'm also an ARL instructor and a volunteer examiner. Right, so just quickly, we've been talking a bit about the classes of licenses. We're saying that we are in the general class license course. So this is actually the second level, level 2. All right, so we have the little matrix up on your screen here that shows that there are 3 levels in the FCC system. There's the technician level, also known as Element 2. Element 2 is the exam that you take, right? And we have the number of questions in the question pool and the call signs that you get. And we are focused in here on this course. This particular course is the general class, right? So the previous level we did a couple of months ago, it's available as an on-demand course. We'll provide that link shortly. It's a progressive set of instructions and exam. And we're at the general level. Once we've completed the general, we intend to offer the extra class course as well. All right, so these are the 3 levels when we're talking about the classes of licenses: technician, general, and extra. And this is in the American system. Okay, so we did say that there's a previous course that was run during the months of April to July of this year, and several of the participants have returned to the general class. Great to have you. We know many of you have actually taken the exam, and all of you have been successful, and we say congratulations to you, and great to have you in the general class. We have new persons involved now, and those who wish to relook the technician material, maybe it's a little bit while foggy in your mind and you want to refresh some of the material, or you have not yet taken the technician class course, it's available at these 2 links. So the first link will be all of the documents, all of the slides and material, and we would have even given out some text as well that we were authorized to do. So you can get it at this link, tdocs.ttreact.com. And the actual course itself is available on a playlist like this, session 1 all the way to 16. It's a playlist at tvids.ttreact.com. So this is freely available and accessible to anyone. So feel free. Each session is just over an hour long, as you can see here, 1 hour and 7 minutes, 1 hour and 18 minutes, 1 hour and 16 minutes, and so on. Some of these sessions are a little bit longer, but on average of an hour plus. And you can have a look at that at your leisure. So we encourage persons to take a look at it, become familiar. It will certainly help, especially those who have not taken it before. In the general class, a lot of things will be explained in technician class. We will take into account that we do have students who have not yet completed the technician material. We'll do our best, right? But please, everyone, do try and go through the technician material. Okay, so we did promise a couple of slides about React. Again, we'll run through this very quickly. Just we tend to get a lot of questions. Well, who is React? What is React? How can I join React? And so on, right? So just a bit about React. React is an acronym for Radio Emergency Associated Communications Teams, right? Our mission is to provide public safety communications. We give assistance whenever and wherever needed. And we are a cadre of trained volunteer communicators, and we use any and every means of communication to deliver the message, right? So the motto is public service through communications, which essentially is what we are about. All right. In terms of the structure of REACT, well, it's an international organization. The head office or the headquarters is based in Glendale, California, and REACT was founded in 1962. So we've been around for quite some time, and the international organization celebrated its 60th anniversary just last year, 2022. So there's a board of directors, there are several regions, and REACT in Trinidad and Tobago, we are part of Region 9. The councils, essentially teams that are formed together that work in a particular geographic area, and they agree to collaborate and cooperate in some way. But the real strength in REACT are the teams. In Trinidad and Tobago, we actually have 10 teams, and REACT started in TNT in 1964, just 2 years actually after the international organization began. So we do have adult and youth membership, right? So these are some of the logos that you may see around that represent REACT, right? So there are a couple others, but these are the main ones that you may see. All right. Of course, if in your area, depending on, again, we have people from all around the world. If you do not have a REACT team or REACT in your country or in your territory, feel free to contact us if you're interested in starting a REACT team. Okay, just a bit about what REACT does. So we provide public service communications, right? So radio communications in particular. So we use any form of technology that's valid in the particular area. So land mobile, FRS, GMR, CB radio, amateur radio, which is what we're doing the course in now, voice over IP, etc. We assist with local events, cultural events, sporting events, national events. So for example, in Trinidad and Tobago, one of the larger events that persons often see reactors in will be Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. You see reactors in steel bands, you see reactors in mass bands, you see reactors at venues. When there's Soca Monarch and the like, reactors are all over the place with radios providing communication, right? We do, importantly, emergency communications. That's the end game. That's what we're about. Disaster response. That's what we really are gearing up for, to assist our communities in times of emergencies and disasters. That's what REACT is about. And our tool of choice is radio communications, or communications generally. We work very closely with first responders, so the police service, the fire service, the military, the disaster management units of regional corporations, and so on. And around the world, various agencies. And of course, we have MOUs, Memoranda of Understanding, with several partner agencies. So you'll see, for example, FEMA, NOAA in the United States, the American Red Cross, Salvation Army, and so on, CERT, Reach Out Worldwide, Sky One, Citizen Corp, and so on. And Trinidad and Tobago, we also have an MOU with the Amateur Radio Society, TTARS. All right. So after all of that about REACT, you may want to know, how do you interact with REACT? How do you get involved? Well, one of the ways, of course, most of our communication channels are closed loop, only available to authorized REACT members, but we do have a platform that is quite open, and we encourage persons, if you have not checked it out yet, there's an app. It's a free app, works on any smartphone, any device, any computer, PC, Android, iOS, you name it. It works generally well, and it's a walkie-talkie app, a push-to-talk walkie-talkie app. It makes your phone or computer work or operate just like a two-way radio system, right? So you can check it out. It's called Zello, Zello, right? And we do have a channel that we'd encourage persons to join. It's called REACT Members, all right? So feel free. It's an open channel, and quite a bit of activities. We have, for example, have networks on Saturdays at 9 p.m. and also a TechNet at 9 p.m. on a Monday. Matter of fact, the net controller, the main net controller, net coordinator, is also a participant in this course, right? Great to have him. And feel free. You just create a call sign for yourself if you don't have one, and join the channel. And we, of course, operate standard radio operating practices. All this not required technically in Zello. Zello doesn't require any license on any particular operating procedures, but because this is REACT, we have a certain discipline that we operate with, and we try to operate with good radio operating practice. Right. So last slide about React. If you need to know anything further about React, there are some links. You'll get it in your slide pack, or you don't have to necessarily write it down. If you want to get any further information about the organization, you can go to these. And of course, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to provide any information. So I think that's about it as far as React goes in the course. The rest of it will be focused in on the amateur radio side of it. All right, so the question is, what is amateur radio? Well, there's a formal definition from the ARL here, amateur radio, also called ham radio. It's a popular hobby and a service that brings people together. We use communications equipment and we talk all over the place, around the world. We even sometimes use satellites such as the ISS, the space station. And we do all of that without dependent on terrestrial infrastructure such as cell towers and the internet. We can and we do use the internet, we often do. However, we are not dependent on that as amateur radio operators, because when all else fails, amateur radio works, right? We utilize satellites, we also bounce our signals off of the ionosphere and get it far across the world. So those who would have done the technician class will be quite familiar with those concepts. If not, we'll be talking more and more about amateur radio, what it does, the benefits, how we can engage with it, and how to utilize it. All right. So this is just, again, we have 3 classes in the American system: technician, general, extra, and we have a highlighted here, general, because that's the level that we are doing. Okay, so I wouldn't go into this slide. This is just a slide on what the amateur radio service is defined as according to the FCC. We have a little spectrum view and of course the radio bands here. Wouldn't get into this slide. It will be in your slide pack. You can have a look at it at your own time. Right, importantly, amateur radio. We want to give back as well. That's part of what amateur radio and amateur radio service is about, giving back to the community. And each and one of us, as we become amateur radio operators, as we become licensed, should strive to become good examples of amateur radio operations, professing good radio technique. And we must also be responsible. That is expected of us. Once we have trained up, much is expected, because we are now trained individuals, right? So that comes with a responsibility, right? And hams are encouraged to give back to the community that they reside in or they work in. And voluntary work is highly encouraged. So for example, becoming a member of a radio-based organization or utilizing amateur radio in voluntary service. And emergency comms, or MCOMs as we call it, to assist local and served agencies, national agencies. So in Trinidad and Tobago, that will, for example, be the disaster management units, what we call the DMUs of the regional corporations, right? You have the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. And of course, there is the ODPM, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, right? Work very closely with them as amateur radio operators, React as well. And there are other organizations, certainly, that utilize amateur radio as well in the giving back concept. So you have Aries, Races, CERT, React, Saturn, and so on. So again, we have detailed a lot of this in the technician class course, and we'll get a bit more into it into the general class. So these are opportunities to give back. Right, so normally we take a break around halfway, but I think because this is really just an orientation, I think we'll push through. We are not dealing with any real technical material this evening. So hopefully this is light enough for us to just barrel through and we can complete a little bit sooner. So let's just continue, right? During the actual sessions where we are doing teaching sessions, we will take a break or shall take a break about halfway, just to give a little breather and so on, but let's barrel through. So what are our learning objectives in this course, right? So it's a general class amateur radio course, right? Well, safety first. We will learn a lot about safety. Again, we talked earlier about, not shooting yourself in the foot or shooting anyone else, that's what it's about, safety. We have to make sure that as we operate, we utilize, install and operate radio transmitting equipment. We do not cause damage to ourselves or to our friends, our neighbors, or anyone else. We do not want to cause harmful interference. So safety first. There are regulations around amateur radio. That's also why we do exams. There are good radio operating practices, and we highly encourage that. We're hoping that you, as a product of this course, will carry that very well and say that you have been duly trained and therefore you are representing. So we're expecting each and every one of you to represent quite well with proficiency in your operating practices. So of course, not everything is taught in the course, right? There's a lot, but hopefully the foundation that you have gained, the grounding that you have, you will be operating properly. And of course, a lot of the material is about electrical and electronics theory, right? So this is where we try to break it down and that we all can understand, especially using analogies, so that we can relate to the material and sit and pass the exams. Right, so just a bit on the curriculum. So those who did the technician class will get accustomed to this little slide. We show it at the start of every session. This is just to give us an idea of the material we have to cover and where we are. And as we progress, you will see this yellow arrow sliding all the way down. So these are the topics, the main topics at a high level, and we will tackle them in this order. So electrical principles, circuit components, practical circuits, signals and emissions, antennas and feed lines, radio wave propagation, amateur radio practices, operating procedures, electrical and RF safety, and commissions rules. So if you did not know what you were getting into just yet, hopefully these high-level topics will give a little bit an idea as to what it is about. So notice we said earlier, this is not broadcaster's course, voice training, or it's not about that. So we didn't talk about that. But nonetheless, let's go on to the next slide. So all of the sessions going forward, today is the orientation. That's what we're about in session number 1. We will have a total of 24 sessions approximately. Why we say approximately? It really depends on how it goes. We will try to fit it within 24 sessions, but we may or could potentially go over, right? And we are looking at 1 day per week. So that will be Fridays at 8:30 p.m. So I do get a lot of questions. Why is this course on Fridays at 8:30 p.m.? As your instructor and facilitator, that is literally the only time in the week that I have available to do something like this, right? I really just don't have the time. Any other day, weekend, and so on, it's just packed with other things, right? So again, we do record the sessions because we recognize that Fridays, not the best time for everyone. It seems to be convenient to many. We have a pretty good attendance this evening, and we have a very large class. And but we do have quite a few persons who are not able to attend for different reasons. And we do our best to record the sessions to make it available so that you can look at it on demand at your own leisure, right? So we'll continue with the Fridays at 8:30 p.m. And it's going to be a 1 hour plus, right? So we will go above the hour usually, right? How much above the hour we will see. We'll try not to go to 2 hours, but we'll cross 1 hour usually. Because of that, we will usually take a 2-minute break as well around midway through. And just in terms of the course itself, so we are going towards theory with a very light touch. So we're not going heavy into theory. This is not a physics class or an electronics class or an electronics engineering, electrical engineering class or power. This is about getting our grasp on the theory sufficient that we know a question pool based exam, why the right answer is the right answer. So we'll have a slide deck for all of the theory that we will issue to all participants. It will be what we use during the course, and it will be made available to everyone to look at and review. But we will be exam focused. That's why we're doing the course, to gear everyone up for the exam. But not because we're exam focused, we want to also develop an understanding, right? So it's not just about passing the exam. We want to understand the material as well sufficiently, right? So hopefully we'll achieve that. And when we look at the question pool, we'll be looking at the right answers and not worrying with the distractors, right? We'll be saying or hopefully discussing why the right answer is the right answer and focusing on the right answers to the question pool. At the start of each session, I think I mentioned this previously, we will be going through any Q&A, question and answer, that we were not able to cover during the class. During the class, we were not able to take and deal with many questions. That's just because of the amount of material that we have to cover. Right, so I don't want to shortchange persons, and we also want to take a gently enough approach as well, right? So we don't want to speed through too much, and also cover all of the material. So as a result, we don't necessarily cover a lot of questions. We try to deal with what we can, and we will deal the rest next session at the start. Of course, we are recording, as mentioned before, and hopefully it will stick. Right? No promises, but we do our best. Okay, let's talk a bit about the course material, right? So we have distributed via a link. Hopefully everyone has seen that link, that all of the material that we have so far and that will be generated over the life of the course will be at that link. So if anyone has any issues accessing the link or getting the material inside of there, please let us know. That will save us from having to email the attachments and further fill people's mailboxes. And let me speak about that a bit. That's a challenge we have, folks. Even at registration, we encountered quite a few dozen people whose mailboxes were full when we were trying to send the link to the Zoom session, right? So please monitor your mailbox. Try and see if you could keep it freed up. In terms of tips, if you're deleting, delete attachments. Any email messages with attachments, that will be your greatest win. And don't forget to look at your sent mail folder. If you have to delete, try to delete things with attachments, and that will free up your mailbox. Deleting one messages with just text, that doesn't help a whole lot. But attachments, you have 10 meg attachments, 15 meg attachments, 25 meg attachments, and so on. Delete those, and that will free up your mailbox so quickly. Yeah. So you can sort by attachments and deal with those that you can delete. All right. So these documents have been provided. We have the question pool itself. And towards the end of today's session, we'll just take a quick dip into the question pool. We have what is called Part 97. That's the regulations, United States, Part 97, an amateur radio service. That is what a lot of the questions are based on. So it's provided to you as a reference. You don't have to read it through necessarily in that way, but you could use it as a reference. But we encourage persons to take a look at it. If you can read it through, all the better. And then we have an additional bit of material that's optional that you can look at. It's by call sign Alpha Delta 7 Foxtrot Oscar. He has provided a really nice document that's available to you. Now, there are many other documents that's available, but this is a pretty cool, concise, alternative set of material. We will not be going through this during the course, but a lot of people like supplemental material. Sometimes you need to hear or see things from different perspectives. So we'll be taking a particular perspective, but maybe you could look at another author and get another perspective on a particular topic or question. So this is supplementary material available for you, has been distributed. Okay, so let me just mention that during the course, I'll be using this text here that's in the middle of your screen, and it's highlighted in yellow, right? This is the No Nonsense General Class License Study Guide by Dan Romanchek, Kilo Bravo 6 November uniform. So those of you that would have taken our technician class course would recognize that we would have used this book during the technician class, and we would have even distributed free of charge a PDF copy of the technician book. He made that available, of course. We do not have authorization to distribute the general class document. We will be using it in the class. However, we encourage persons to consider purchasing it. It can be purchased as a hard copy on Amazon. It can also be purchased directly from his website as a PDF, right? So consider supporting him. We'll be using his book during the course, so consider supporting him. It's good to have text. And we have a couple other recommendations. Persons sometimes like to have supplementary or additional information. These are the ones that we recommend. Of course, there are many, many, many others. So we do recommend that you can do a search use Google and search for Amateur Radio General Class, and you will see a lot of material, cards, all sorts of PDFs and material that people would have put together. But just make sure that you're using the current 2023 to 2027 version of any material that you download or purchase, right? So this is the text that we recommend, simply because that's what we'll be using. The No Nonsense General Class License Study Guide, the 2023 to 2027 version by KB6NU, KB7NU, KB6 actually, that's a typo, sorry about that. So check it out. This is what it looks like. Again, the previous version of the book also looks quite similar, same color and all of that, but just double check that it says 2023 to 2027. That's the current syllabus. There are also some other really good books by WB6NOA. That is Gordon West. His book is really good. Matter of fact, at the time when I did my licensing, this was the text that I would have purchased to take a look at the material, right? So consider supporting him if you can. And of course, there's the ARL material, highly recommended, right? So you have the general class license manual, and of course, there's a Q&A. So consider if you wish, you can purchase these as well. All of these are available on Amazon, right? So people have asked, do I sell manuals? The answer is no. If you're interested, you'll either have to go online at the author or go at Amazon and you can purchase directly, ship it through a Skybox or however you would normally procure, right? So again, these are optional. You do not have to purchase a thing to do the course, right? So we're just providing all of this because some students like to have material, like to have hard copies, like to have things to read in advance and all of that. So we're just providing that to you if that's how you learn well. But these are optional, not necessary, but highly recommended. And as I said, please consider supporting the authors. They work really hard to produce this material for us, and we should consider supporting them if we can. All right. So let's take a little look into how do we obtain an amateur radio license, right? So just briefly, you study the syllabus. So for example, this course is studying the syllabus, right? You can study it on your own. You can study it as part of the course. We highly recommend taking practice exams. As a matter of fact, that's like a stock record start of each of our sessions. I'll be encouraging students to consider taking practice exams. As a matter of fact, I do have a slide up in a bit that shows a link to the practice exams. You can actually take the practice exams even before you looked at any material, because due to prior knowledge, there's a good chance you know quite a bit. So you might be surprised how much you know. So consider taking them. And when you're passing that handsomely, 3-4 exams in a row, then you know you're ready for sure, right? So that people always ask, how do I know I'm ready? Take the practice exams, because they are actually the exact exams that you'll get in real, right? It's taken from the same question pool. So then once you've studied, done the practice exams, you know you're ready, you can schedule the exam. There are in-person exams from time to time. In Trinidad and Tobago, there are a couple each year, depending on the territory where you are. We have persons from all over the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, the US, of course. You'll have to check for your area if there are exams. If not, there are remote exams, or what we call remotely proctored exams, or what sometimes people call online exams. Those are available, and we'll provide the links to that as well. You have to register on the FCC website, what we call cause, to get an FRN, right? That's a number, that's your number. So you have to do it, the earlier you do it, the better. You don't have to do it right away. You have to certainly do it before you take the exam, but consider doing it as soon as you can, and please don't lose it. Don't forget the password to the website. Try to remember it. You can do a password reset, but register for your FRN as soon as possible if you don't already have one. If you did the technician class exam, you already have an FRN. All right, then you sit the exam. Note that you'll need a valid US address. A Skybox as well will work. People are asked, I don't have a US address. Well, if you have a Skybox, you have a US address. Or if you have a friend, a member of the family that will give you authorization to use their address in the US. That is fine, and that's legitimate. That's no problem at all, right? And you can use that address when you're signing up on the FRN, for your FRN. And you can use it also when you are taking the exam, right? That's your US address. When you sit the exam, you have passed it, you will get what is called a CSCE. That's the Certificate of Successful Completion of Examination. You don't want to lose that, because that is your evidence of having passed the exams. In Trinidad and Tobago, you can use that CSCE to apply for your local call sign, which we'll talk about in a bit. But once you have sat the exam, the volunteer examiners will send it forward, and you will obtain a 10-year license. Now, there are new fees, relatively new anyway, of $35 every 10 years. That's for new licenses, and also applications for vanity call sign. We'll discuss what vanity call sign is if you don't already know what it is. So when the VEs, the volunteer examiners, after you have passed the exams, they will submit it to the FCC. You have to look out in your email from, you'll get one from the FCC telling you have to pay this $35. And you need to do that within 5 days. Otherwise, it is discarded, and you'll have to go through a process to try and, get that back going again, right? So highly recommended. Pay attention to your email. Once you know you have sat and passed the exams and the VEs are filed for you, keep like a hawk every day looking at that email. And you make that payment online and you will get that license within a couple of days, right? Also, for Trinidad and Tobago citizens, when you're here, you apply using your CSCE to get your local license, right? We have the cost here for you. It's $20 application fee and $100 per year. You can pay the 10 years all at one shot, or you can pay annually or at whichever you wish. The process takes about 3 months. It could take a little bit less, maybe just slightly a little bit more, but usually no more than 3 months is the average, right? Some students have told us they've gotten it in a month and so on, right? So I suppose it depends on the workload at TAT. They may be able to do it a little faster, right? So approximately 3 months is what you can expect. And this is the link to do the online application. Right, so other countries, it varies. Persons in other countries, let us know how you go about getting your license. It'll be really nice to know. We are not, unfortunately, unable to provide the licensing regimen for each of the territories. And of course, once you get your license, you acquire amateur equipment and you operate. In some countries, Trinidad and Tobago, it is actually an offense against the law to own, so I should say, install and operate transceiver equipment without a license, right? So that's why you need to get a license first, and then you can go about purchasing, secondhand directly online your ham radio gear. All right, so we're not doing too badly in time, I think. Let's continue. A little bit more about the exams. So the exams are multiple choice. It's a question pool based, so there are no unseen questions. There should be no unseen questions, right? What that means is that the question pool, we will be covering every single question in the question pool during this course. So there wouldn't be any surprise in the exam. You would have seen all of those questions. You would have learned about why the right answer is the right answer, right? So that's why you should have very good confidence in these exams, right? So you must study. And once you do that, you'll be good to go. So the question pool expires every 4 years. So that's why we recommend when you're getting material, get the latest and greatest. So 2023 to 2027 is the current question pool for the general class. It's a progressive course. It's a progressive exam. You do the technician, then the general, then the amateur extra. We're doing the general here. So that's why we're highly recommending. Please all now, if you haven't taken the technician class, we have sent links. We'll send it again to you. It's in the slide deck to take the technician class course, which is on demand. Recordings are there. If you don't get through all of them in one shot, that's fine. I don't expect anybody would. Some people can. We'll look 2, 3, 4 at a time in a row every day. That's fine if you can do that. If not, if you can do one a day, whatever you can. Each person, you have your own circumstance. Do what your circumstance allows. But the more material you can cover in the technician class, the better you will understand the general class material. But we'll take into account that not everyone has done the full technician class course as yet. But please, if you can, don't depend on us just catering for that. Try and go through the technician class material. You'll be benefiting yourself. Now, in the exam, you can do all levels, right? The technician, the general, and the extra for one fee, right? You go and you sit. One exam pass, you sit the other exam, you pass, and so on, right? But many persons just do the technician in the first sitting. Some people, will try the technician and the general. And those who are doing the general now, you will be predisposed to being able to do that because you're doing the general now, and hopefully you have the technician under your belt or will. So you can do the technician and general. It is within your grasp. Many persons do, in fact, do that. All right, so we talked about the CSE. This is what it looks like. Your certificate after you have passed an exam, the volunteer examiners will fill this out and give you a copy of that. And that's your certificate. People have asked, what certificate do I get? Well, you do get a certificate of participation, right? You can apply for that at the end of the course. But this is a certificate that you really should be interested in because this is essentially telling you that you will be able to get a license. Once you've gotten this, you will get a US license and you can apply for a Trinidad and Tobago license, and several other territories around the world accept this certificate as proof of having sat and passed an amateur radio exam. So several Caribbean countries, for example, do accept this. So Trinidad and Tobago is one of them. All right. So the exams are conducted by the VEs, or what we call the volunteer examiners. You have in-person or remote proctored exams. Again, we are repeating this. It's 15 US to take the, no, actually, I don't think we said this before. It's 15 US to take the exams from the V's. In Trinidad and Tobago, it's the TT equivalent. I think it's $105, I believe it is. So there's a filing fee. We mentioned this before, 35 US for a new license. And if you're going to get what you call a vanity license, there is a filing fee now. It used to be free before in the US, right? But now, as of a few months ago, there's a filing fee, right? Again, just to emphasize, this course that you're taking here now online, there's no cost at all whatsoever to the course, right? Okay. So again, we did say the general class is called Element 3. Yeah. There are 35 questions in the exam, and there are 430 actual questions in the question pool, right? So you must get at least 26 correct to pass. That's 75%. These are doable exams, folks. There are no unseen questions. You need to have a pencil to do the exam. Regular basic calculator, non-programmable is allowed, highly recommended for the simple calculations, you know. Please study. Don't take it for granted. We have persons who have advanced degrees in the course. They look at it and say, you know, that's so easy. I've done more than that in my academia. And they go and sit the exam and they turn out disappointed. Why? Because there are regulations and operating practices that may not be obvious, right? So don't take it for granted. Even if you think you have all of the knowledge before, please do take at least a pass through of the question pool to make sure that you have a command of everything there, right? And you will be successful. So again, the VEs are really great guys. You know, last session, they did produce a session for us in TNT a couple of weeks after the last day of the course. So that's, I'll call it a commitment, right? Really good guys. So perhaps after the next session, our VEs may be encouraged to host a session once they know they have candidates. So we had quite a lot of candidates the last session, and the V's, I think they said one of the largest sessions that we had. So once we produce students, the V's are glad to have a session, right? It's not very often the sessions are held, a couple of times a year in person in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's maximize that opportunity. However, remote exams are available. There were a lot more available during the pandemic period when, you know, things were really locked down and so on. There are still many available online, and we'll show you how to get at them. And of course, we are saying, please do the practice exams so you will develop readiness and confidence. All right. So we won't spend much time on this slide. This is just to show you the process in Trinidad and Tobago to get a license, right? You must have that FRN that we spoke about, a US address, and an email address is important also. And the cost, TT 105, we mentioned that it is approximately 15 US. Of course, the FCC filing fee, again, that's 35 US. And of course, we have the links here to codes. Right, so many persons are interested in the amateur exams that are remotely proctored exams. That has been authorized by the FCC. So if persons want to know if it's authorized, yes, it is. Here's the FCC's notice. Some people are saying, you know, is that proper? Yes, it is, right? We don't do anything improper here. So this is the link if you want to get one of the better locations. There are many others, but I found this one to be quite helpful. Students have found it to be quite helpful to get remote exams. The schedule, you just go to this link, hamstudy.org/sessions, and you search for a session. We do encourage you to choose or consider choosing an ARRL VEC, right? There are a couple of VECs, but we do recommend that you choose an ARRL VEC when you are searching for a session. Okay. Nice. Right. So again, as mentioned, we will be highly encouraging taking practice exams. We provide several links because sometimes these links come and go. I cannot vouch for all of these links being up all the time. The one at the top that we recommend has been pretty steady, hamstudy.org. If you use this link, you use this URL, you'll be able to share your progress with your instructor. It's optional, it's not mandatory, but if you would like, you can use this link to sign up. If not, just go to hamstudy.org and you will be able to get to your practice exams for whichever level, technician, general, or even extra. All right. So we have a couple frequently asked questions from previously, and just to save persons from asking it, these are repeat questions. Popular ones is Morse code required to obtain a ham license? The answer is no, right? Short answer. Do I need to have any radio equipment to study for my amateur radio license? No, you do not need to have any. As a matter of fact, most people will purchase it after you get the license. And as mentioned before, in some jurisdiction, it is illegal to be installing and operating transceiver equipment without a license, right? So we're on the side of caution. Okay, so we have participants in the course and they're asking, do I have to take the exams? We do not obligate anybody. We do hope you take the exam. We encourage you to take the exam, but we do not obligate you to. It's entirely up to you as a participant if you wish to do the exam. You can just take the course and that's it, and that's fine. You can look at the recordings as much as you want, But we do encourage you. You have done the course, you have done the material. Hopefully you've seen how, I would say, easy it is for you to do. You will see and realize it's within your grasp, it's within your capability. So please consider taking it. So some persons have said, well, exams not for me, right. So all of us may have some of those concerns. That's why we recommend the practice exams, right? That should build your confidence. If you are passing those things, you're getting, 75% plus in each of them, 80%, you're getting 100%, do 4 exams and you pass all of them. You're ready for the exam, right? So some people do have little shakes when they go to an exam session. I would say try it. We all have had those types of anxieties from time to time. Do it. We know you will get through. So no need to have any qualms. We encourage you to take the exams, right? If you're under 18, yes, you can take the exams. And in Trinidad and Tobago, as of 2 years now, you can also get a license, right? As a young person, right? So highly encourage young people to take the exams. During the technician class, I think we had an 8-year-old student, right? So very good. What can I do with an amateur radio license? Well, this is an almost limitless list. An amateur radio license, we consider it to be a license to experiment with radio frequency spectrum and electronics and technologies, right? You can do many things. So for example, as a consumer, as a regular citizen, you can use Wi-Fi equipment, these routers, and get your computer working, accessing the internet through it. But as a ham radio operator, you are actually permitted to run a higher power and use additional pieces of the spectrum, the radio frequency spectrum, that someone who does not have a ham radio license, right? So there are benefits to doing so. All right, so I'm seeing some questions coming in. Yes, you can repeat exams if failed. You can actually sit the exam right there and then. You just have to pay another fee to take it right away, or whenever the next session is. So of course, you can take the exams as many times as is necessary, right? So you don't have to worry about taking the exam and not being able to do it, right? So, there's highly accommodating, right? But we expect that you will pass, right? We've had a good success rate at the technician level. So I think you'll pass. But yes, anyone who may, for whatever reason, not be successful, you can take it again on the same day, right? Just have to pay the fee again, right? But once you are doing the series, if you pass the technician, you can do the general for the same fee. If you pass the general, you can do the extra for the same fee. If you take the technician and you don't get through, you can take the tech again. You just have to pay the fee again. That's just how it works, right? All right, good question. And also, is it expensive? Well, as any other endeavor, so some people ask, is auto hobby, is tennis expensive? Is cycling expensive? Well, it depends. You can break the bank. You can become a pauper by spending all of your earnings on your hobby, right? If that's what you love, yeah. So there's a radio that you can purchase for about 30 US, a handheld device, and with that and a homebrew antenna, you can or you can send a signal or you can access a repeater on the International Space Station. So does it have to be an expensive hobby or endeavor? No, not necessarily. But yes, equipment can be expensive. And the more you get interested in it, the more you may incur expenditure, right? So yes, you can spend quite a bit, but you do not have to spend a lot. in this day and age, there are a lot of technologies that you can enjoy amateur radio without even purchasing a transceiver, right? You can use smartphones, you can use computer equipment, and so on. So Echolink, for example, no radio is involved. You can get onto Echolink. That's one of the things we encourage to students. As soon as you get your license, sign up for an Echolink account. You can be talking to people and even getting onto RF, but using your mobile phone or computer, right? So it really depends on you, right? How much you want to spend, really. So Wayne, yes, this question pool covers the general class. So each of the exam has its own question pool. So the technician has a question pool, the general class has its own question pool, and the extra class has its own question pool. So we are currently covering the general class question pool, and we will deal with all 430 questions in the course, right? So excellent questions there. All right, so let's continue. Just a couple more slides, and we should be able to bring this to a wrap, right? Okay, so this is just a couple slides to show you what an amateur station might look like, right? So you have your electrical receptacle outlet in your house, you have a power supply. It could easily be a battery and charger arrangement. This is your transceiver, or what we call your radio, right? So this power supply may be about 120 US. This transceiver here may be about 1100 US, right? Then you have something called an antenna tuner or a match, and then you have an antenna with a tower. Now, every station doesn't have to be as elaborate as this, right? But this is just an example of what some of us may want to attain as a ham radio operator. Some of us may have much simpler antennas than these, right? Some of us may have, equipment that's larger than this, more expensive or less costly than this. Some of us may be able to use commercial equipment, probably even build our own equipment as well, right? So anything is possible. We're just showing what's possible. And this may be our mobile vehicle, and we may put a radio inside with an antenna, right? All right, so just giving an idea what's possible in amateur radio. So this is our base station, right? Operating at our home base, or what we call our QTH, right? And here we're operating mobile, right? And then we are operating with a handheld device. Some people call it a portable device, but portable has a specific meaning in amateur radio. So this is some of the equipment that we may wish to acquire. So this radio here, for example, with a charger, handheld radio, very portable, right? Small antenna on it and so on, right? Each with its own capability. So let's get straight into the question pool. We did say we will have a look at it. So we will pull up the question pool, which has been circulated to all participants. You will have it in your folder, that link that we sent to you. But you may need to decipher the question pool, right? So for each question in the question pool, you will see a number here, which is the question number. And then you will see a letter in brackets. That's the answer. So it'll tell you if the answer is A, the answer is B, the answer is C, the answer is D. So C here means that the answer for this question is C. And if the question is a regulatory-based question, you will have the FCC Part 97 section. And that's what we meant by you provided with Part 97. Please feel free to take a look at it when you have references. See where these questions are coming from and see the regulations. Get familiar with them. If you can, have the time, please, we highly encourage you to take a look at it. And then this is the actual question. And we have the options, including the right answer and the distractors. So all of the questions follow this pattern in the question pool. So we have put this up, and we'll be repeating it in the slides so that you will know how to decipher this little bit of code in the question pool. All right, so we now come to the question pool. So let us now share the question pool. All right, give me one moment. Right. Right, so hopefully you can all see the question pool on your screen. Let's just make sure that that is so. Let's share again. Okay. Right. So this is what the question pool looks like. So everyone has a copy of this in the share, and I encourage you to start looking at it. You will see the questions, how to decipher them. We just showed you. See the question here, and then you will see this is the question, and these are the choices. This is another question, and these are the choices, and so on. So that's the question pool. So we encourage you to take a look at it, get familiar with what the question pool looks like. And we will be dealing with the theory associated with every single question and tackling every single question and what the correct answer is and why it's the correct answer. Okay, so let me just go back to our slide deck. Okay, right, so we are back at our slide deck. All right, so we're coming to the end of this evening's session. I don't think we did too badly in time, just about the 1 hour mark. So we just want to share with participants that this weekend, actually starting tonight, starting this evening, there's what is called Jamboree on the Air or Jamboree on the Internet. And that is where scouts are involved in amateur radio communication. Amateur radio operators around the world get together and assist scouts to communicate with one another from the various troops. And in Trinidad and Tobago, there's quite a bit of activity as well this year in assisting the scouting move. So we do have several scouts in the class, and again, we welcome you. Great to have you. Do have a good Jota and Jyoti over the weekend. And persons who would like to find out more about what Jota and Jyoti is about, there's a URL website here that you can take a look at. So that's happening today into Sunday. All right, so the next steps. So session number 2, we will be sending the link to the Zoom link via email in a couple of days' time. And please note that the actual link to Zoom may change. Sometimes it won't change, but it may change. So please always use the latest link from the email that you get. All of the documents have already been sent to you via this link. So it's gdocs.ttreact.com. You will have what we have distributed thus far. And as we go through the course, you will see it being populated with the slides and any other supplemental material that is distributed. So you will always have access to it. We will probably cease sending the bulk of material via email because we realize that some of it is quite large and some users it fills up, it contributes to filling up their mailboxes. So we will try our best to not do that and avoid sending those large attachments to you. So it's all here. If anyone has any challenge though, or challenges, please reach out to us, let us know. The recordings, hopefully it has stuck, will be posted to this link, gvids.ttreact.com, right? So you can take a look at this. There's a video there, placeholder right now, but it will begin to be populated with all of the sessions. Similar, if you have had a look at the technician class materials, it will be very similar, all right? So this is my email address again. If you have any burning questions, you can send it to this. We'll try to get it as quickly as we can. And we ask that you check your email regularly, please. Also check your spam filters. Sometimes the email goes into there. At least once a week, you'll get an email from us. So also try to avoid your mailbox filling up. We are hoping that each and every one stays the course. Thank you for your participation. It's great to have you inside. Our next session will be on Friday next, which is the 27th of October. Usual start time at 8:30 p.m. So everyone, thank you very much. Do have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Watch the weather. We have persons in the Caribbean. We have Tammy there that's on our heels. Quite a lot of weather associated, so be careful out there. And see you in our next session. Be safe, everyone. Have a good night.